it's Nicole at the Pearl Review. How are you? Today I'd like to review a book that doesn't really fall into the three genres that I normally review here at this channel, namely literary fiction, nonfiction, and collections of essays. Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed is at once three different things. It's an anthology from a online advice column published at the Rumpus called Dear Sugar. Sugar was an anonymous columnist at the time. It is a book of personal essays. One can see it as such because Sugar lived or continues to live a very rich but difficult life. She's gone through a lot of things and has navigated them so well that she has a lot of wisdom and empathy to give other people. And thirdly, this book is considered a self-help book. Now, why, if I like to share with you mainly literary fiction, would I be sharing a self-help book? Namely, I really like this book, and I was actually looking for a new book of essays to enjoy, and I kept on seeing this book on the lists. This book also gave to me some of the gifts that I find are given in great works of literature. Literature informs us how to be better people, how to be more empathetic, how to more clearly see the value of love and the humanity in other people. And it is definitely imbued in this book, and also in the inspirational character of Sugar. Cheryl Strayed went through a lot of tough things, and that wound up making her the person that she is, the person who wrote a book that wound up being adapted into a movie starring Reese Witherspoon. She's either been in the Oprah Club, the book club, or she's at least met with Oprah. She's a really nice lady, and I really dig her. Cheryl Strayed has been described when writing the Sugar column as coming from a place of radical empathy, and that's definitely the feeling I got when going through these letters. This book is full of tiny, beautiful things. It's also full of upsetting, harrowing vignettes, people going through really difficult situations in terms of grief, substance abuse, neurosis, really runs the gamut. Cheryl Strayed is a very empathetic person, and her narration of her work is so good, and her character and her empathy are alive in her voice. She's an author, so even though this is considered a self-help book, this is also art. It's a beautifully thoughtful, well-written book. I think that I would not do justice to this book without including some excerpts from the book to really give you a taste as to the experience of reading or listening to this. So the following two short clips are narrated by Cheryl Strayed, and they're just moments that I really enjoyed from the book.
He spent the night sleeping on the porch, huddled into his coat. In the morning, he walked back to school and told a teacher that his dad was dead. He'd been an angry boy ever since. He began stopping by my office in the quiet times when most of the other kids were in class. He'd worked out a deal with the teacher of his anger management classroom that whenever he felt like he was going to act in an angry way, he could leave the room and walk up and down the school hallway, taking deep breaths instead. It was a practice he'd been taught at school, and it worked for him. Up and down he went, past my open office door, past my open office door, until finally he'd back up and ask, "What you doing?" in a voice cloaked in such false nonchalance that it made my heart hurt. "Nothing much," I'd say. "Come on in." And he'd sit down in the horrible story chair near my desk, where all the girls sat narrating their horrible stories. And he'd tell me his own stories, not all of which were horrible. The kindest and most meaningful thing anyone ever says to me is, "Your mother would be proud of you." Finding a way in my grief to become the woman whom my mother raised me to be is the most important way I have honored my mother. It has been the greatest salve to my sorrow. The strange and painful truth is that I'm a better person because I lost my mom young. When you say you experience my writing as sacred, what you are touching is the divine place within me that is my mother. Sugar is the temple I built in my obliterated place. I'd give it all back in a snap, but the fact is, my grief taught me things. It showed me shades and hues I couldn't have otherwise seen. It required me to suffer. It compelled me to reach.
The book is also great because it comes from a place of great clarity. As I said, she's an author, and she writes clearly, and she makes issues more objective for the person who's seeking help. And I found, after listening to so many of her responses to letters, I was given a sort of toolkit for my own life, in terms of seeing things maybe a little bit more objectively, and also inspiration to be maybe more accountable, and more empathetic. So in conclusion, I really enjoyed this book. It's really beautiful, and it's very heartwarming, though harrowing at times, and heartfelt. I recommend it to anyone. I think it would be helpful to anyone, at least in some point of their life. Thank you guys so much for listening, and in the infinitesimal chance that Cheryl Strayed, you at one point or other stumble upon this review, I love you, and your mother would definitely be proud of you. Thanks. Bye.